Hello, my name is Adrienne. Today I'm going to teach you how to do a literature search, and we're actually going to be going through a slideshow that I presented in a research class at UCLA. So after the video, if you want to just slow down, it will actually outline step by step. So if you don't get it during the first go round, that's fine. You can just slow the video down and it will kind of meticulously walk you through a few different options. So here we go. Let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. And here we are. Okay, so I think I did mention that I'm at UCLA in the School of Nursing. I'm a doctoral student, third year. I do primarily qualitative research, but this was something that I did specifically as a teaching assistant for the research class. So why even do a literature review? Well, especially right now in the climate that we're in, it can be really difficult to know what's real and what isn't. You look at your Facebook feed and articles might pop up and they could be vetted, appropriate, realistic articles, or they could be articles that someone kind of created in their basement and decided to just expose the world to their particular opinions. So it's important to know for anything that is science related, health related, social science related, anything that can be explored academically, you have the option of doing a literature search. And it helps you avoid articles or websites that have implicit financial, philosophical, whatever sort of bias behind their content. So what you see here is an image of the LA Weekly and also an image from Cancer Treatment Centers of America. So they both have an agenda. Let's be realistic about that. But the articles that you get from each one is going to be informed by that agenda. And whereas LA Weekly is trying to sell you something overtly, make sure that their website is dynamic enough to get lots of hits, in reality, the same may be true of the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. They are a for-pay organization that allows you to receive treatment at a location aside from the normal hospital that you would be visiting. And so they need to make sure that you get exciting, interesting information about treatments that might not be available in other areas. So they definitely have an agenda as well. And it's important to be aware of all of these things because they can be flashy, like the image on the right, or they can be more sedate and appropriate, professional looking, like the image on the left. But it doesn't mean that they're not coming from their own particular perspective. And that perspective is going to inform the information that they provide. So what sort of search engines can you use? Well, if you're not affiliated with an academic institution, you can always use Google Scholar. And to tell you the truth, when I am doing lit searches for big papers, I do spend a little time on Google Scholar because it's such a widely cast net that you may get articles that you wouldn't get otherwise. It is free, which is wonderful. Not all of the articles available on Google Scholar are free. So when you click open one that you really want to read, there may be like a $5 fee or a rental fee. So you may encounter that. But for the most part, many of the articles have no cost, and it is really good for formatting for APA, which is what we use in health science when we're actually writing up the references. If you're doing a personal search, you may not care about your reference list, but if you plan on doing anything with this, it's important to make sure that you're citing appropriately. So you can also use search engines like PubMed, which is really fantastic. If you have EndNote on your computer, then you can access a number of databases that EndNote has already paid for, essentially. And so there's Medline databases, there's the US National Library of Medicine, and the NIH, the National Institutes of Health. They all have their own databases, and it depends on your particular access. But hey, if you've got it, those are really top of the line. So I would absolutely go there first before I went to Google Scholar, because you really are going to get thoroughly vetted information. What we do in nursing is CINAHL primarily. This is the Cumulative Index to Nursing and Allied Health Literature. This is English language articles, so that is one thing to be aware of. And it is very nursing focused. So being in the School of Nursing, this is really our top choice. However, if you're doing a topic or you're interested in a topic that maybe is predominantly biological sciences and not necessarily nursing, or maybe you're looking at some critical theory information, you're not going to find it in CINAHL. which is another reason I always say, go back to Google Scholar and cast the net wide. And then from there, you can kind of move forward. So here's your step-by-step with the options that I listed. And this first one from Google Scholar is really as simple as going to the link that's there, scholar.google.com. And you'll see what pops up. It's a very user-friendly page. You really are just typing in your topic of interest, preferably keywords, right into that bar. So in mine, I typed in nurse volunteers in homeless shelters, because this was something where students wanted to volunteer and they wanted to be aware of what were barriers and antecedents to nurses volunteering in that location, what they could do to kind of prepare themselves for that experience, and really if there was a gap in the literature, something they should keep their eye open for. So if they wanted to, they could consider doing a study with some IRB approval. And so basically that's it. You're all done. Do a happy dance. It's very quick. You can organize it, you'll see on the left, according to publication date. So if you want the most recent, you can put since 2015 or since 2016. If you're really specifically interested in case law, there's an option there also on the left. If you want to actually refine this a little bit further, let's say you want to look at homeless teens, you can always go back into that search bar and further refine your search. Because no matter what, Google is such a wide net that you really are going to get thousands and tens of thousands of results. So you probably will need to adjust it. You'll see just with the search that I did, I got over 18,000 results, which is quite a few, right? Moving on, if you happen to be at a large institution like UCLA, generally the library will have access to some databases. And I have UCLA up here, but you really could go to whatever organization you're with. I know Charles Drew has one. I know, of course, they have one at Berkeley. So in my experience, whatever institution you're affiliated with is going to have this ability. So at UCLA, again, you just go to that link, library.ucla.edu/biomed. The reason it's /biomed is because, again, I'm looking specifically at health topics. That doesn't mean that you can't use this sort of a search engine to look for social science topics. You just wouldn't be adding the biomed link. And again, on the page itself, you can see how there is a direct place to get to PubMed. So you don't have to have, you have a subscription to actually link to these articles that normally you would have to pay for. And so if you have this ability, I highly recommend it. Some of the journals that are extremely important journals, but relatively small journals, are publishing some cutting edge information, but they just can't afford to do it for free. So you want to make sure you don't miss out on those. If you click on that PubMed link, it will open a free access PubMed window. And again, this is my experience at many different schools. So I would definitely go here after you do your broad Google Scholar search. Now, once you open a PubMed window, however it is that you get to PubMed, and there's lots of ways to get there, you're going to have that same open bar that wants you to type in some keywords. And again here, if you want to be really systematic about how you do this search, I always recommend that people use the same keywords that you used in your initial search, like via Google Scholar or whatever else that you're using. You don't want to go from your last terms and now this one you're saying like homeless veterans, right, and nursing, because you're going to get a whole different selection of articles. You probably want to make sure that you're getting exactly what it is that you want and not varying from your initial search. Unless, of course, during your initial search, you read a couple of articles and you refined your idea. So if your idea has changed and your perspective has changed, then feel free to change your keywords. Otherwise, I would say try to stay with the same keywords if you can. And here's EndNote. EndNote is a subscription service that you often get at UCLA and other similar organizations. If you're at the master's level and higher, it's generally part of your tuition. So I highly recommend that you seek out a librarian. Our School of Nursing librarian was Adele. She actually went to one of the other UCs. I think she went to UC Santa Barbara. But Any librarian at any of these institutions is going to be happy to meet with you, but I highly recommend you find someone within your department or actually assigned to your department, because they are really the best at locating exactly what it is that's going to appeal to you. And you can always kind of contact them and have a little bit of a relationship so that they can help you get what you need. And you can really access their vast knowledge. So this is very EndNote specific, but you would open EndNote, and when you go to collect under new references, you could actually go to online search /PubMed, or you can search within the organization that you're at. So you see there's an option there directly for UCLA. And this gives you a very selective list of keywords, and you can do and or this without. If you want to look at nurse volunteers in homeless shelters, but you specifically don't want it to be a teen-focused homeless shelter, then you can actually type in teenager and then say without this term in there. So it really is very good at refining. And you'll see that using these terms, instead of getting 18,000 plus hits, I actually got 45. So the better the search engine, the better the terms, you really are going to get more specific information, more targeted to what it is that you want to know. And like I said, at this point, you can scale it up or scale down, because it's really about getting you a comprehensive picture of the topic that you're curious about and not having to rely on outside sources who are doing all of this evaluation for you. So this is your final step, really. You look through the list of articles that you've assembled and you select the articles that suit your needs. So there's lots of things to read about here, and you'll see the very top one is prevalence of scabies and pediculosis corporis among homeless in the Paris region, right? So if you're not interested in body lice in a population in Paris, that's probably not one that you want to read. However, if that's what you're curious about, that's absolutely the one you want to read. And here's where you can really, really refine what you care about and what you want to explore. In this particular case, the It Takes a Village article, a community partnership model in caring for the homeless, would be an excellent place for this potential volunteer to start. So they could read an overview article that's been vetted, peer-reviewed, and they know that essentially what they're reading is as close to lowercase t truth that they can find. So perhaps if they have some misgivings or concerns about what it is they're about to undertake, this will really answer those concerns in a way that Newsweek articles or things published on your Facebook feed are probably not going to help you. So again, you're going to select the articles you like, you're going to save them in a group, and this goes through very specifically how you can do that within EndNote. Feel free to go back and use this page for reference. I always like to give everything little titles, and you'll see I've got grounded theory, herbs and diabetes, obese women, because I study diabetes in older Latinas. So you'll see I have lots of different articles that are kind of similar, but they're refined into topic groups. And again, anytime you need to come back, because now you have, in this example, gone and volunteered, and you have some additional questions, you can go back and reference the articles that gave you your initial background, and you can add to them or you can subtract from them. And so that's basically how you do a literature review. I know it was fast, and in our next discussion about table of evidence, we're going to go a little deeper into why you would want to do a literature review. But as far as like a superficial view, this is really to make sure that you get rigorous, scientific, logical information, because there's a lot of information out there, and a lot of information is used to mislead or manipulate. And I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. I think there are businesses and financial interests linked to a lot of information distribution. And the best thing that we can do is really be aware of it. And when we're curious or we're making actual decisions that affect our lives and the lives of others, it really behooves us to know where we can get the lowercase t truth, in so much as it allows us to make really thoughtful decisions about things that matter. Thanks for tuning in. I will be back with the table of evidence, and feel free to look at any other videos on the website. There's definitely things about, there we go, I'm going to stop sharing. There's definitely things about how to volunteer, especially if you're interested in public art or any other health topic. Feel free to leave comments and let me know if you have any questions or other things that you would like to hear more about. Thanks.